Have you ever found yourself lying at 2 a.m. in the morning and your mind plays tricks on you? Your mind starts arguing with you about life itself. What if it fails? What if things don't work out? What if what you're doing is not enough? Even worse, what if what you're doing is enough but it still doesn't work out? If you're a human being, I'm sure you've had these thoughts in your mind before. I'm sure you must have had this condition of anxiety where your mind constantly brings nervousness or uncertainty to your heart. If you're a human being, then I'm telling you this is normal at one point in your life. But interestingly, Islam has already given us a solution 1400 years ago. A solution that will ensure that our heart stays at peace while not knowing what is it that is to come. And it is known as Tawakkul. Now before you roll your eyes and say, oh, it's another Tawakkul, trust Allah and do nothing and so on and so forth. No, this video is not about empty cliches. In this video, I'm going to explain to you the meaning behind Tawakkul and how do we adopt Tawakkul. And I'm going to prove to you why it makes sense for us to have tawakkul. Why is it rational for us to leave the outcome to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now the word tawakkul comes from the word wakala, which means to appoint or to delegate. It's like giving someone the responsibility of making life choices for you, handing over that decision making responsibility to that person. If you have a case, for example, you leave it to the lawyer, right? You're giving your case to the lawyer and saying, okay, I trust you to make the best decision for me, so there you go. That is the linguistic sense of the word tawakkul. But instead of giving it to a dodgy lawyer to handle your case, you're giving it to al-wakil, which is the ultimate trustee, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now take note, people have a misconception about what tawakkul is, and they think it is passive hope. It is us leaving everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we do nothing about it. We don't put in any form of effort. That is not tawakkul. Tawakkul is not passive hope. Tawakkul is when we consciously surrender and delegate it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah knows our future, Allah knows the outcome of our future, and Allah doesn't sleep on our problems. So it makes sense for us to have tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He knows us better than we know ourselves. Allah created us, so it makes sense for us to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the things that are to come. But that doesn't mean that we do nothing about it now. And Allah is the best for us to place our tawakkul in. Imam al-Ghazali mentions that no one deserves complete trust, complete tawakkul, except the one that has complete knowledge, complete power, and complete mercy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that falls under this category. Allah deserves our tawakkul because He has complete knowledge about our lives. He has complete knowledge about our past. He has complete knowledge about our future. Allah deserves our tawakkul because He has complete power over our future. He determines the outcome. And Allah deserves our tawakkul because He is the one that has complete mercy over us. So when you have tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not really a weak submission, but it is a brave surrendering. It's saying, I will walk into the unknown because I know who is the one that will walk me through it, which is Allah. Now let's talk about logic for a second. Here's the deal. You cannot control everything. You don't know the full picture of your own life. And you've made mistakes. And spoiler alert, you are gonna make mistakes in the future as well. So why do you have anxiety in your heart by trying to control everything? Why do you have anxiety in your heart by trying to control or think about things that are beyond your control or things that should be beyond your control in the first place? As human beings, we are not made to bear the burden of the entire universe on our shoulders. So tawakkul is the ultimate rational response for human limitation. You play your part, you prepare, you give it your all, and then you leave the result to the scriptwriter. There is no point for us to fixate on controlling our outcome when you don't even have the knowledge of what is about to come in the future. You're like gambling with your own lives. It's like you're putting in money somewhere thinking that, oh, it's gonna go up, but you don't know, right? You don't know that if it's gonna go up or not. So likewise for your life as well, you don't know what's in store for you in the future. So why are you trying your best to force an outcome? Instead, what you're supposed to do is give it your best. That is tawakkul. Remember, tawakkul is not a passive state. It's not me by saying, oh, I'll leave everything to Allah and I don't do anything about it. I want a job, but I don't apply for jobs. I just leave it to Allah. I want someone's hand in marriage, but I don't do anything about it. I'll just leave it to Allah. That's not tawakkul, right? That's being lazy. Tawakkul is when you bravely surrender to Allah the aspects of your life in which you know you don't have any control, but you put your effort into it. You give it your best, not because you want that outcome per se, but because it is an act of ibadah. The reason why we hustle today is not because we want rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hustling doesn't give you rizq, but hustling is an act of ibadah. That is the means in which Allah will give us rizq. This is how we were supposed to understand it. So we have tawakkul in Allah that Allah will give us rizq, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, but we get to work and we give it our all. This is true tawakkul. Now, there are a couple of things that you need to know, or a couple of mindset shifts that you need to know before you try your best to develop tawakkul. And I call this the 5 pillars of tawakkul. And the first pillar is to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. You don't know what's best for you, so you leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you want the best for yourselves? Yes, but you don't know what is best for you. So you leave that part to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What you're supposed to do is do the right things and give it your all. If the outcome is not what you want, then you know that is the best for you. For example, if you apply for a job and you got rejected, it's not a rejection, it's a redirection. If you ask for someone's hand in marriage and you get rejected, it's not a rejection, it's a redirection. This is the first mindset for you to have. This is the first pillar of tawakkul. You believe that whatever happens, the outcome is all in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if it doesn't go your way, Allah knows best. The second pillar of tawakkul is to understand that Allah is the one that provides. In terms of risk, if you want to have money, it's not about having a job. It's not about your boss giving you money and so on and so forth. The ultimate ar-razzaq, the ultimate bestower, the ultimate one that gives you risk is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you have tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to believe that ultimately Allah is the one that gives you risk. Love is a risk. Having children is a risk. We try our best to take the means. We conduct ourselves responsibly. We do things the right way and we leave the outcome to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because rizq comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third pillar to have to develop tawakkul in yourself is that you need to think good of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is out to punish you, then that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing. We need to have good perspectives or good understanding of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing. Because why? Here's the rationale. Because you don't understand the future. You don't know what your future holds. So how can you say that a rejection is totally evil, totally Allah punishing you? How can you say that? Because you don't know the future. You don't know the full picture. Just imagine if Allah gives you everything that you want in life and then some problems happen. Would you then blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that? Would you then blame Allah saying, why didn't you protect me? You gave me every single thing and still problems happen in my life. Why didn't you protect me? So we need to have that perspective that when Allah gives us a rejection, it is a protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We just don't know it. But it doesn't mean that you stop there. It means that you put in your effort, you make dua, but you leave the outcome to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you tried your best in something and it still doesn't work, you can try again. There is no problem with that. You can try again. If it still doesn't work, you can try again. No matter how much effort you put in, it still doesn't work. That is a redirection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a protection from Allah. This should be our perspective. The fourth pillar to have about tawakkul is that doors open and close by the divine wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah wills, He could have opened that door for you. If Allah wills, He will shut that door for you as well. Bottom line, just take note that a closed door is not a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes there is danger behind that door that you do not see. And the fifth mindset of tawakkul, this is the most important, is tawakkul is an act of ibadah. Just by having tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will reward you. It is an act of ibadah that we need to constantly have in our hearts. We need to constantly be in the state of tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, tawakkul is not just leaving everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like I said, and just sleeping on your back, binge watching motivational skits, waiting for rizq to come. No, that is not tawakkul. Like the Prophet ﷺ mentions that if you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way He should, He will provide for you just like how He provides the birds with rizq. Every single day the birds fly out hoping for food, looking for rizq and so on and so forth, not knowing whether they will return with rizq or not. But every time they come back, they have food for their family, they have food for themselves and so on and so forth. Tawakkul is when you leave the outcome to Allah, but you still put in the effort. Not because you want to control the outcome, no. It is because it is an act of ibadah. It is our responsibility as slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give it our all, to put in as much effort as possible to make things work, to make things better, but you leave the outcome to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is tawakkul. So what does having tawakkul look like? Number one, set your intentions for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every morning if you wake up, instead of saying what do I want to do, what do I want to achieve, try to shift it a little bit. Ask yourself, what does Allah want you to do? What does Allah want you to achieve? Your life will have more meaning if you do that. Instead of saying, well, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, I want this person, I want that job and so on and so forth. Ask yourself this question: what does Allah want you to achieve? Number two is giving your best. In anything that you're doing, you have to give your best, because tawakkul, putting in effort and so on and so forth, is an act of ibadah. Allah created us in this dunya for us to be tested. So if you want to pass that test, you have to put in effort. You have to give it your all. Of course, sometimes life will kick you down. This is normal. That is part of the test. Sometimes life don't go the way you want it. You get rejected by someone that you're interested in. You get rejected by that job that you really want. You've planned for years and then that project failed. This is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is trying to strengthen you up. Every major failure that comes your way, learn from it, use it as motivation, or use it as a way to discipline yourself to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because just imagine if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you everything that you want. You make one dua that Allah gives you everything. Just imagine if Allah does that. It will spoil you. You will forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes Allah will bring you up to teach you about certain qualities that you need to have. Sometimes Allah will bring you down to humble yourself, to remind you of the things that you might have forgotten. Constantly trusting Allah as you go through these ups and downs is what is known as tawakkul. Third, detach yourself from the outcomes. If things work out, alhamdulillah. If things don't work out, double alhamdulillah. Because why? Because it is divine filtration. It is redirection by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like I said, you don't know what your future holds, so isn't it good to have someone that has already seen the ultimate picture and that person guides you through it? Isn't it good to have that, right? So that person is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has knowledge of the future. Allah knows you better than you know yourself. Allah knows your entire life. So having tawakkul is like asking Allah to redirect you whenever He deems fit. And the fourth thing is give even when afraid. Generosity is not just charity. Generosity is trust in action. Give like you know who's got your back. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, this is where the tawakkul game gets real. After you've given your effort, after you've given your all, then this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His name. By calling Him Al-Wakil, the ultimate trustee, Al-Hakim, the wise, Ar-Razzaq, the one that will give you rizq. You can call upon Ar-Rahman, the most gracious and the most merciful, Ar-Rahim. Each name of Allah that you call upon is like a key that will unlock a hidden wisdom. After putting in the effort, you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you what He deems best for you. And the second thing, once you've made dua, is you need to stay consistent with your dua. Remember, we are a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Giving our best effort is an act of ibadah. Making dua consistently is also an act of ibadah. So we cannot train ourselves to immediately want something when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. We just need to remain consistent. We just need to raise our hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day in and day out, whatever that we want. The best dua is when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to provide you with what He knows to be best for you. Third, you need to have gratitude. You need to have shukr. Not just for the things that will work out, but for the tests as well that will grow your soul. And the fourth will be to remain patient. Not passive waiting, it is active trusting. A Muslim reacts with shukr when things go their way. When things don't go the way we want it to go, we express sabr. If you have tawakkul, you will constantly find yourself in two states. Either you're in a state of shukr, gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or either you're in a state of sabr, patience. When you're inflicted with things that you don't want, you don't hope for, then you should be in a state of sabr. Your circumstances is an opportunity from Allah for you to remain patient, to learn about patience. If Allah gives you the things that you want, the things that your heart desires, it is an opportunity for you to learn to be gratitude, to have shukr in your heart. When you remain patient, you keep on going, you keep on performing your acts of ibadah. This includes giving your all in all of your efforts. As the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we shouldn't give up, we shouldn't be lazy, we shouldn't just sit back and relax. We should try our best in anything that we're doing. This is how a Muslim with tawakkul thinks like. Okay, once you've done all of that, there is a way for you to check if your tawakkul is purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one is you feel calm even when your inbox is in chaos. Number two is you stop arguing with qadar as if it's a customer service agent. Number three, you stop comparing timelines. Why is this person getting this and I'm getting it in 3 years? Why is this person getting it in 3 years and I'm getting it 30 years? Comparison is the thief of joy. If your tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true, you will find yourself not worrying about the timeline, because you know that the timeline, whatever it is determined by the divine. The fourth thing is that you're content with the now and you're not worried with the future, because you know who's writing the future. And the last one would be your dua. Your dua will feel more like a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as opposed to a wish list. You're not making dua and checking off, oh, I've asked this, I've asked this, I've asked this of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, it's more of a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're asking Allah for the best, that He knows what is best for you. right? You're not asking for yourself, right? A lot of the times when you have tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you find yourself making dua for other people as well. You're asking Allah to bless other people, right, with blessings and so on and so forth. This is a sign of having true tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're tired about worrying about tomorrow, if you're done trying to play God in a universe that already has one, if your soul is suffocating from stress, from doubts, from what ifs and whatnot, then it's time to return to tawakkul. Let go, but don't give up. Surrender, but don't stop striving. And remember, you were never meant to carry your life alone. Your Lord is Al-Wakil. Let Him handle what your heart was never built to hold. I hope this video benefited you, inshallah, and drop a comment on one thing you're going to stop stressing about and you're going to leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Post it in the comment section. Assalamu alaikum.